My name is Galen Todd, and welcome to the Bailey Contemporary Arts. You're tuned in to Lunch with Art, the virtual edition. So behind me is one of my favorite paintings, and today, with a few simple steps, I'm going to give away my tips and tricks on how to recreate some of the elements inside of this plein air landscape painting to give it that Pompano warm welcome feel. All right, by placing three simple trademark items of Pompano Beach, you can recreate this at home by taking advantage of the background, the middle ground, and the foreground spaces, whether it's your painting or whether it's a piece of paper with a ballpoint pen out of your printer. Great. One of the most important things that you want to do first and foremost is establish your horizon line. I'm going to be doing that with a sky blue marker, but what I suggest you do at home is do it either with a pencil or a pen that you may be able to mark over. So let's go ahead and do that now. So what I did is I grabbed a piece of painter's tape, but maybe your piece is smaller at home. You can always grab the end of a book or your trusty ruler, which we'll need for later. All right, so if you look here, we established our horizon line, and what that does is create a specific space for your foreground, your middle ground, and your background. What I did is I used little yellow squares to make sure that nothing rolls off the page. So by creating a space for my three objects, I now know that all three of the things that I'm aiming to see into fruition are going to fit within your frame. Simple as that. What we're going to do is break down how to draw each object individually, but first let's make sure that we set them in place. So we'll go ahead and just do a little square here in the background, a longer rectangle here in the middle ground, and then a larger square here in the foreground, which we'll erase later. The first object that we're going to break down is the Hillsborough Inlet Lighthouse. With a few simple shapes, you can create this at home. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first shape that I noticed is a rectangle here in the center. Don't worry about the color because it's black and white if you don't already know. Then we have a long cylinder shape here. This is all going to be painted black. I saw a little white. This is kind of like where the electronics are. The top is a square, but kind of at an angle here. And then one of the key signatures is the circle on top, little cylinder. And then to create glass, I like to do just two diagonals, just like that. One of the main things that is going to set it apart from other people is your attention to the detail in the straight lines. So I recommend you find the end of a book or a ruler, and just by creating a few straight lines, just like we did the horizon line, it's really going to give it that signature shape. To finalize it, we have a little watchtower here. And the reason I'm okay with lines going over each other is because I know, and you know at home, that ultimately it's going to be colored in black. Okay, let's grab a bigger marker. This lighthouse is actually nationally registered, and it's very unique to our city. And just by establishing the black, the white, the black on top, now you have put your Hillsborough Inlet light into your picture. All right, next we're going to break down the Goodyear Blimp. It's actually one of three blimps in the entire country, so it's pretty signature to Pompano Beach. Keep in mind that this square that I have here is going to be that little square in the background of your picture at home. So I'm not too intimidated by it. What I see is a football shape here, little box for your patrons, and then a couple wings here. Again, if you're just drawing it, then you're already set. And if you've pulled out your watercolors or maybe your colored pencils, just separate the blue from the signature gray. We all know Goodyear Blimp's colors are blue and yellow. So maybe you want to grab a yellow highlighter, or maybe you're painting or maybe you're doing watercolor, and just establish the blue and yellow signature of the blimp. Keep in mind that in your drawing, it's going to be very small in the top right corner. Now lastly, we want to place an object in the foreground. Simply put, it's going to be the largest thing inside of your picture. I couldn't think of anything better than our Pompano fish statues, 24 of them total, brought to you by the Public Art Committee placed strategically around the city. So with a few simple steps, we can draw that as well. It's sitting on a cylinder base, so we'll get a nice oval circle here, set it in place, and then it's actually kind of like a football shape as well. You just hit that line here, hit this line here, and what makes our logo of the city very signature is this little mouth, little eye, little fin. And if you're anything like the other artists that were commissioned, you can color it however you want inside of your picture at home. So if you're anything like me, you practiced before you went to your original picture. Keep in mind that every single square that I showed you earlier is showcased here on your finished piece. So we'll show that it's pretty simple. I like to start from the back to the front. So we're going to place that blimp that we learned how to do. But remember, in order for it to be in the background, it needs to be very small. In the midground is our lighthouse, so we want to make sure that no matter what we do, we don't go above or below the line that we already created. So here, I'm going to do a simple version of it. We got that black signature cylinder in the beginning, goes down to the middle, and then it turns white, so you want to leave a little white open spot. And like I said before, what's really going to wow people looking at it is the attention to detail when it comes to your straight lines. So with just a simple couple straight lines, we've now placed our lighthouse point. If you know anything about the inlet, it's covered with trees, so you can just sort of cover up. You don't even really have to worry about the bottom. Now we talked earlier about the horizon line, but because it's an inlet, we want to create those two bodies of waters that the boat go through. So simply putting this line here, creating this to be your sea line, and then setting that lighthouse in place. We've now established one side of the inlet, and now we're going to work on the second, which is the statue in the foreground. So just like before, we do a nice little cylinder, set it in place. Remember that football shape we talked about? That signature lip, little eye, little fin. And now you've established a statue, which is obviously much smaller than a lighthouse, larger in the foreground. You have your lighthouse in the midground, and you have your blimp in the background, creating a beautiful plein air. From now you can get creative, add some clouds, maybe add a little boat. Hopefully now at home you're not intimidated to do your own original piece of work using a few principles, including the horizon line, taking advantage of the scale in the foreground, the scale in the midground, and the small objects in the background. Thank you so much for joining me. Can't wait to see your finished product.